Sure, true-to-life graphics and real-world physics are the stuff gamers' dreams are made of, but lately, aging gamers seem more nostalgic than ever for the titles of their youth. This sweeping return to the basics means that video game remakes have become hot-ticket items for publishers looking to make a quick buck. And though some might argue that our rose-colored glasses are stifling the industry's creativity, there's something to be said for returning to the digital worlds that made us fall in love with video games all those moons ago. So pop that can of Surge and plop yourself down in that dingy old beanbag. Today, we're checking out some of the biggest remakes that are on their way to a console near you. What's old is about to become new again, and let's be honest, you're probably gonna play most of them. Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Spyro hit the scene way back in 1998, and it wasn't long before everybody's favorite sassy purple dragon kicked off a trilogy of games that helped make the PlayStation a must-have system.
Hey, stop staring! Haven't you guys ever seen a dragon before?
And now, decades later, Spyro fans are getting a chance to go back and replay the classics on the current generation consoles. Spyro Reignited Trilogy is set to release on September 21st, 2018, and will include all three of Spyro's first adventures: Spyro the Dragon, Spyro Ripto's Rage, and Spyro Year of the Dragon. And good news for those who skipped Sony this generation, the Reignited Trilogy is headed to the Xbox One, too. It's like stepping into a time machine, if that time machine could take the past and make it a whole lot prettier. Resident Evil 2. You've beaten the bakers, you've mutilated the molded, and you've put little Eveline in timeout for good. In other words, you've beaten Resident Evil 7, so now what? Well, you can always dive into the franchise's back catalog and play Resident Evil, Resident Evil 0, Resident Evils 4 through 6, and both Resident Evil Revelations games on current-gen consoles. Conspicuously absent from that list, however, is the biggest game in the series, Resident Evil 2. Why? Because a full-on Resident Evil 2 remake is in development over at Capcom, and it's coming to consoles sooner than you might think. Capcom showed a pretty hefty chunk of gameplay at 2018's E3, and damn, do we like what we see. From a new take on the original game's claustrophobic settings to a bold and bloody emphasis on the horror part of survival horror, Leon and Claire's quest to make it out of Raccoon City alive looks as gritty and gruesome as ever.
If you see one of those things, uniform or not, you do not hesitate.
Expect a healthy dose of undead goodness in January 2019 when the spine-tingling title hits shelves. Final Fantasy VII. Considered by many fans and critics to be one of the best games ever made, Final Fantasy VII changed the landscape of gaming as a whole and set the gold standard for JRPGs. It introduced the world to legendary heroes like Cloud Strife, Tifa Lockhart, and the late Eris Gainsborough, and it united gamers worldwide against the biggest and baddest big bads this side of the Sector 5 slums. It's become so ubiquitous, in fact, that Square Enix even revisited its opening cinematic to demonstrate the raw power of the PlayStation 3 during E3 2005. Fans frenzied at the sight of Eris rendered in then-revolutionary graphics, and they couldn't help but wonder, was Square's spectacle more than just a tech demo? Well, yes and no. No, because at the time, it really was just a way for the devs to show off the technical prowess of the PS3. And yes, because it may have led to an actual real-life FF7 remake. Yes, that's right, a remake of Final Fantasy VII is set to hit the PlayStation 4. Unfortunately, we haven't heard much since the game's first official trailer was shown off at E3 2015. We do know that Square Enix cut ties with collaborator CyberConnect 2 in order to develop the game in-house, but that's about it. The jury's still out on whether we'll be poised to put Sephiroth down a year from now, or if Square pulls a Final Fantasy 15 and keeps us waiting a whole decade again, or more.
It's been 84 years.
Disgaea 1 Complete. There's nothing quite like pouring a hot cup of tea, opening up a brand new book, drawing a cozy bath, and reclaiming the Netherworld's throne after the untimely death of your father, the king. Okay, we know.
One of these things is not like the others.
But it is the plot of tactical role-playing game Disgaea, Hour of Darkness, and it's a blast. Don't feel bad if you're scratching your head trying to figure out how to even spell Disgaea. The series never really caught on in the West like it did in its homeland of Japan. But for hardcore fans who fell in love with Laharl, Etna, and their kooky cohorts, the prospect of getting their paws on a remake of the first game in the franchise is way too good to pass up.
Ugh, I can't argue with that.
If you just so happen to be one of those fanatics, then today's your lucky day, dude. A full-on reimagining of Hour of Darkness called Disgaea 1 Complete is currently being developed for both the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch. There's no specific release date available for the Disgaea remake yet, but fans can look forward to playing it and sinking hour after hour into powering their whole party up to level 9,999 in fall 2018. Catherine, full body.
Do you want to live a comfortable and steady life? Or do you secretly long for a free life, full of excitement?
When it released in early 2011, Catherine caught on as one of the more eyebrow-raising games of the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 generation. In case you're unfamiliar, let's just say it involves a man named Vincent who faces two unique challenges: the terrifying supernatural nightmares he can't seem to shake, and his lust for two different women who are named Catherine, one spelled with a K and the other with a C. Confused? Good. Welcome to hell. Want some snacks?
Is this gonna be a problem?
The game is an odd duck with players spending their evenings making life-altering decisions and their nights climbing towers of blocks in order to escape giant demons bent on ending good old Vinny's life. It's super weird and more than a little racy, but those who've played it love it, so it comes as no surprise that the game is getting a current generation update for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita sometime in the near future. And with another potential love interest thrown into the mix, yep, another Catherine named Rin, along with extra sexy events and more difficulty levels, Vincent's love life is about to get a hell of a lot more complicated.
If you just go away, he could finally be free!
Are you crazy?
Catherine, full body drops sometime in 2018.